Yeah, Lauren was my neighbor. We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
This is an act put up by one of the most gruesome killers of the past decade. Beneath this act lies a sinister figure, Stephen McDaniel, an unsuspecting neighbor with an aura of mystery. McDaniel wove a chilling web of secrets and shadows, and then shut down. This is the surface. The details of the act this man committed form a bone-chilling tale that will send shivers down your spine. Brace yourself to uncover the terrifying truth behind the mystery that is Stephen McDaniel. In the quiet town of Macon, Georgia, a shocking crime unfolded, leaving the community devastated and searching for answers. This is the harrowing, true crime story of the murder of Lauren Giddings, a promising young law graduate, and the twisted individual behind the heinous act. On a seemingly ordinary day, the life of Mercer Law School graduate Lauren Giddings took a tragic turn. In the early hours of June 26, 2011, she vanished from her apartment, leaving her loved ones in a state of panic and disbelief. The investigation led the police to a neighbor, Stephen Mark McDaniel, a former classmate at Mercer University. As the evidence unfolded, the picture of a sinister individual began to emerge, someone capable of unspeakable acts. Days turned into an agonizing search for Lauren. Eventually, the discovery of her torso in a trash can sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone in a state of horror and disbelief.
We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean,
what kind of person was she? I mean, what did you see?
I mean, she's as nice as can be. I mean, very personable, very much a people person.
Do you know any enemies she might have had, somebody that might want to hurt her?
No, I mean, we don't know where she is. I mean, the only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her. Because, I mean, we went over, one of her friends had a key, we went inside and tried to see if there was anything amiss, but, I mean, she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. I mean, the door was locked when everyone got here. I mean, we just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they had recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's why we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
This is the killer discovering for the first time that a huge development has been made in his case on live television. This could be an either-or situation. Either Stephen is riddled with anxiety right now and is trying to channel it in a manner which makes it seem like he's sad for Lauren, or this could just be Stephen's attempt to make it look like he's concerned while feeling no fear at all. Considering that he dumped the body in a campus trash can, he could very well be aware that Lauren would be discovered, which makes you wonder whether in this moment Stephen even feels anything, or chillingly feels nothing and just plays along on live TV. He keeps this act up till the end of the interview and beyond.
I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. She was as nice a person as there is. She was going to be moving out today. She was supposed to move out today because someone else was going to be moving into her apartment. Why would anyone do this?
Watch him snap out of his trance and answer questions in a manner which seems significantly different from how a person in that state would usually answer. He's crying with no tears and proceeds to completely snap out of this while stating his experience of being on the crime scene. The murder of Lauren Giddings is a chilling reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Her life was tragically cut short, leaving a void in the hearts of her loved ones. Even though Stephen blended into the crowd, there were several indicators that Stephen's psychological state was concerning. There was something off about him. The biggest testament of this was when Lauren herself confided in her friends about how Stephen made her feel uneasy. This occurred after Stephen had asked Lauren out on a date, and Lauren politely declined, stating she would like to remain friends. A week later, Lauren went missing. After the discovery of Lauren Giddings' dismembered torso in a nearby trash can, Stephen McDaniel, along with other neighbors, was taken to the police station for questioning about her disappearance. While the other neighbors cooperated and allowed their apartments to be searched, McDaniel hesitated, citing it was the lawyer in him and a need for privacy. Eventually, he permitted a detective to search his unit, but only in his presence. What began as mild suspicion turned into a strong case against Stephen. As the police got more certain about Stephen, they brought him in for another round of questioning. What unfolded were some of the most extraordinary few hours of interrogation.
All right. I just got to ask you a few more questions. You came down earlier tonight, me and you talked, all right. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
That's just you are. What's wrong? You know I'm Detective Patterson, right?
Yes.
Do you remember? Put your hands up here. You remember us talking
Yes.
earlier tonight? Right?
Yes.
You remember me earlier in the day?
Yes.
When we came down here and talked a little bit and then we left?
Yes.
Okay. I need to know about this girl right here. You know her?
Yes.
Who is that?
Lauren Giddings.
We don't need to bring in a panel of experts to point out the obvious sudden change in demeanor that Stephen has taken on since the first second of the interrogation. It is almost a different persona, as if he's trying to convey he's shocked, as if he's trying to make an empathetic impression about his shock. But his only two options are taking on this persona or shouting in the face of authorities. We see the interrogator get a little fazed by this, and unsurprisingly so. This is, to put it in polite terms, quite an uncommon reaction or approach being used by Stephen here. Notice the eye contact Stephen is holding. The detective tries different ways to coax a conversation out of Stephen for the first 15 minutes. Most of the conversation was oscillating between confrontational and non-confrontational, and was aimed at establishing a rapport with Stephen. But when Stephen went on with this persona of his and wouldn't budge, the detective took on a more serious, direct, and confrontational tone around 18 minutes in. We see the detective slide Lauren's picture closer to Stephen's vision, as if sending a message.
You buy all these weapons? Was you ever in the military?
No.
Are you scared somebody's gonna hurt you?
No.
Where's Lauren?
I don't know.
Yes, you do know.
Another investigator joins the interrogation and is greeted with the same answers to every question he asks. It is clear that this style of interrogation won't affect his decision to not deviate from this persona. There seems to be no other option than to grill Stephen and keep turning the heat on further. Look how the detective gets closer to Stephen as he asks questions, which are aimed at making him think more.
Stephen, you know, and me and you both know it's no different than when you was a little kid, right? And you reached in that cookie jar and you got caught after your mama told you not to get that cookie. And when she was, did you get a cookie? No. And whenever you tell a lie, you feel bad about it right then. One, with every lie, there's a chance you're gonna get caught. And that weighs on you, because you know you did something bad. Am I right?
I didn't do it.
You didn't take the cookie?
No.
Stephen's "I didn't do it" clearly shows he knows what he's in for, something an innocent person would be confused about. The first detective comes back in the room, and we clearly see that 40 minutes into this, both the investigators have gotten a little frustrated, and understandably so.
Stephen, you're lying. Now you're lying. You're just lying. That's a lie.
The detectives ask Stephen to play detective and give them advice on how to proceed with the investigation.
If you're the detective, you're the police detective, it's your investigation. Where would you start your investigation?
This line of questioning is quite insightful and penetrative, as it forces Stephen to conjure up lies and become uneasy. But Stephen remains unfazed and answers in his monotone, providing little to no information. Analyzing through the 2-hour interrogation, we get to see that it mostly comprises the detectives asking questions based on the evidence they have and essentially getting only a yes, a no, or an I don't know. Several attempts of appealing to Stephen's conscience, appealing to his empathy, making him feel guilty, are made along with some attempts of being completely confrontational, almost telling Stephen that they know he did this. For example, this particular segment. Watch as the investigator momentarily gets a foot in front of Stephen, having called him out with this well-articulated argument.
Stephen, you gonna look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're gonna say you don't know? I know you know.
I don't.
Yes, you know. What are you gonna say tomorrow when I say we got your hair with the body? What are you gonna say to me then?
Stephen's yeses, no's, and I don't knows switch up. Even though the vocabulary is still the same, he starts saying no more.
No, no, no.
Liar.
The interrogator keeps going on without a lot of progress and any real breakthroughs. Several instances occurred where there was direct evidence pointing at Stephen, but somehow his silence delayed justice.
Show me that scratch again that you showed me earlier. That was it a... What did you say happened there?
You think I scratched myself in my sleep?
Oh.
But even though Stephen remained tight-lipped throughout the whole interview, there came a point where the authorities had a breakthrough. As the relentless questioning continued, Stephen McDaniel's refusal to confess to murder led him straight to jail. During the interrogation, the focus shifted to his claim of being a virgin, raising suspicions when condoms were found in his apartment. McDaniel's explanation that he took them from classmates' unlocked apartments in the past incriminated him in burglary. Before his arrest on the murder charge, the police obtained a search warrant and collected a hair sample from him. Along with this, the police discovered women's underwear, suspected to be Lauren's, a flash drive with disturbing material on it, a hacksaw, and, disconcertingly, a set of keys, which were determined to be a copy of Lauren's, and another which was a master key for the whole apartment complex. Stephen wasn't going to be able to beat the system now. These are the last few minutes of interrogation footage. The investigators noted how Stephen maintained the same posture throughout this 2 to 3 hours long interrogation. Watch him sit in utter silence and stillness, even when no one is around. The public believes this to be one of the most uneasy and creepy footages of a suspect being interrogated. The sheer lack of emotion. We see a killer psychologically frustrate the investigators simply by choosing not to speak. And we know he chose not to speak. This was a decision made with complete knowledge and intent. Warning: this following is what McDaniel wrote in an online post when talking about how he would react after committing a murder. I'd sit down on the ground with my gun several paces away from me and just rock back and forth on the ground, eyes wide and blank. Afterwards, I'd remain in this state for at least a day. No talking, no communication, blank, unfocused stares. I do not fall asleep either. Eventually, when some new stimulus is introduced, a family member I haven't seen, a picture of my brother, or something like that, I shake my head from side to side, blink rapidly, and look around in a panicked manner, asking where I am, what's going on, if my family's okay, why I'm there, and when they ask, I'd say I had no memory of anything that happened after I arrived at the service. They probably initiate charges, at which point the family will need to get a lawyer to argue that I had no knowledge of my actions, and were not acting of my own volition when I acted. Keep this story consistent, and whenever I'm asked about what happened, I look down and put a sad look on my face, relating what I was told happened, as you have no memory of it. I might end up institutionalized for a while so they can try to figure out what caused the blackout. And they may take my guns from me, as well as the ability to purchase more. But if I stuck to the story, it's doubtful I'd end up in prison. Of course, this is all hypothetical, in bold letters. McDaniel's case got weaker when several concerning posts and articles were linked to him after the murder. The courtroom became the stage for justice, as Stephen McDaniel faced the consequences of his actions. In 2014, he accepted a plea deal avoiding the death penalty and instead receiving a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. McDaniel pleaded guilty to murdering Giddings. Stephen's chilling confession revealed the horrifying details of his cold-blooded murder. This is what Stephen's own defense attorney had to say when he was eventually brought to the stand.
The graphic, specific, detailed confession that you made to Frank Hogan and I, which we were shocked about in the jail, and which you went into terrific detail about how you killed Lauren Giddings.
Wearing a mask and gloves, he entered Lauren's apartment in the dead of night, taking her life with his own hands. The brutality of the crime was beyond comprehension. The next day, he dismembered her body in the bathroom with a hacksaw. Most of Giddings' remains were discarded in a dumpster on campus. However, the torso was thrown in a trash can outside the apartment complex. In a shocking twist, Stephen McDaniel, desperate to challenge his conviction, embarked on a journey of legal appeals. Representing himself in court, he raised claims of constitutional violations, intercepted legal research, and inadequate representation. Even behind bars, Stephen McDaniel's relentless pursuit of freedom continues. In 2022, he filed yet another habeas corpus petition, alleging stolen defense trial documents, seeking to overturn his conviction and secure his release from prison.